Welcome to Downtown Tulsa's Classical Conversation. We will be going over the timeline for week 15. Before we do the whole timeline, I wanted to give just a little background, a little bit of background on each card. The first one is the Parliament Acts Unjustly. Well, this is when the British taxed the American colonies on numerous items like sugar, tea, and newspapers, and many other things. They were just wanting to make money off of them, and this angered the colonists. They rebelled to this tax, and in one occasion, by throwing the British tea into the Boston harbor when it had arrived by ship, and they called this the Boston Tea Party. This and other unjust acts by Britain were known as the Intolerable Acts. Here's just another picture of what it might have been like, with the colonists all upset over the taxation. The next one is the First Continental Congress seeks peace with Britain. This was a special meeting of colonies seeking help from King George and mandating that the colonists stop purchasing and selling to Britain. They wanted to be treated fairly. The War for Independence begins. The British are coming, the British are coming, warned Paul Revere and William Dawes. Farmers and shopkeepers were prepared to defend their new land and were ready to fight in a minute. Thus, they were known as the Minutemen. British lose at Bunker Hill. Americans only had short-range muskets and were told, "Don't shoot until you see the whites of their eyes." The British lost 40% of their men in this battle. America declares its independence. Desiring that King George would listen to the American request, they hoped to settle peacefully, but England considered the colonists to be traitors. A document written and signed to declare freedom from England's rule was called the Declaration of Independence. This was July 4th, 1776. Here's a copy of the actual Declaration of Independence that they signed. Washington commands the Continental Army. Because of his great leadership qualities, George Washington was made the commander-in-chief of all American armies. With the help of France, the colonists forced Cornwallis's army to surrender. Winter at Valley Forge. Before the British surrendered, numerous battles had been fought, and many suffered, especially during the winter of 1777 to 1778. Many men died of exposure, disease, and starvation. Washington cried out for help from God and from Congress. Help did come from Germany and France. Okay, our last card is Yorktown and the Treaty of Paris. Trapping the British and blocking sea passage, the Americans won, and therefore a treaty was finally signed between America and England for independence. All right, one more time through. The first card we have for week 15 is Parliament Acts Unjustly. The First Continental Congress seeks peace with Britain. The War for Independence begins. British lose at Bunker Hill. America declares its independence. Washington commands the Continental Army. Winter at Valley Forge. Yorktown and the Treaty of Paris. All right, to help us with our timeline cards for week 15, we have Mariah Canfield and Sierra Canfield. And the first card we're going to show you how to do is Parliament Acts Unjustly. So we've got our scale tipped to one side, because if the balance or scale is tipped to one side, then something's not right. And in this case, Britain was being unjust to the colonists. Then the next card would be First Continental Congress seeks peace with Britain. So we're going to put our finger out for first, and then we're going to do American Sign Language, capital C and another C, and then peace for peace with Britain. So we have first, C, C, and then the peace sign. All right, card number 3, War for Independence begins. So we're going to have our hands crossed like our wrists are in bondage with chains, and we're going to break the chains of bondage. Then we have card number 4, which is British lose at Bunker Hill. So thumbs down, and we're going to trace a hill to represent Bunker Hill. The next card, America declares its independence. So get your hands up, close to your mouth, and pretend that you're declaring independence. All right, then we have Washington commands the Continental Army. So we're going to have a raised fist like a commander. Then we have the winter at Valley Forge. So shiver, ooh, we're cold. And the very last one is Yorktown and the Treaty of Paris. So we've got a line of soldiers, and then we interlock our fingers to kind of show the agreement between America and Britain.
Week 15